the thing about Penn State's
I
backs
got it.
is their backs, they do a mix of everything well. And so there could be a potential where that is the ability to open up, Grunkmeyer. They can just ride those running backs as far as if Nebraska doesn't find a way to kind of get physical at the point of attack and be able to drive some stuff, drive some stunts up the middle and just be able to shut them down. Like, we have to make a commitment to stopping their run game early and make them beat us with their arm, honestly.
Yeah, so Gronkmeyer is now, since he's come in for Drew Aller, is completing 65% of his passes, which is actually pretty solid. He is a true freshman too, if I'm not mistaken. And here's the thing, though.
Is he true freshman, redshirt? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure.
But 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He's also been sacked 7 times for negative 53 yards. He is indeed a true freshman.
True
so
freshman.
You can put him in some tough, or I'm sorry, redshirt freshman.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought he was redshirt. Yeah.
But on the year, he's not a run threat at all. I mean, based on stats. So you're getting a very stationary QB, which should help. But like you mentioned, their running backs, Katron Allen and Singleton combined, they're at about 1,100 rushing yards. They're averaging about 4.5 yards per carry. They got almost 20 touchdowns between the two on the year. Very physical ground game. The difference here is Singleton is more of a third down back per se in their offense, or at least of the two, because he actually has 19 catches, 145 yards on the year, and Allen has 46 yards receiving on the year. But they both can do both. I just think Singleton's more of a threat, obviously, with the passing game.
Yeah,
but they're both phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. Now also, since we're on the week that we're on, where we got a little extra time, Iowa. How are you feeling overall about that game?
They're damn good, I think.
Iowa, because of how much they've been able to improve. And what are some of the reasons that you think they've been able to improve? Do you think it's kind of their typical, it's the Iowa way of, they kind of just over the course of the season, they have this style of football that they kind of wear, as other teams wear down, it seems like they just get stronger. It's just one of those things where it's like you want Nebraska to be that team that's also kind of improving as the season goes along, but we're not getting that same level of improvement necessarily that we would like to see, from a team like that. Because, I mean, they, for all intents and purposes, they gave Oregon all they could handle.
They should have won that game too. If it wasn't for an absolute perfect throw by Dante Moore, who had not a great game by any stretch, but that one throw on the sideline, he put it in the only spot it could be. And so you have to give kudos to him for that. But I think part of it too is their quarterback, what's his name? Gronowski.
Yeah. Gronowski.
Not a great mobile quarterback, in my opinion, but mobile enough where you have to kind of respect his run game a little bit. He's their second leading rusher. He's averaging 4 yards per carry. He's got about 400 yards, just under 400 yards on the year, 12 rushing touchdowns. He actually leads them in rushing touchdowns, which is shocking to me. Their primary running back, Moulton, is okay, averaging 5 yards per carry, 500 yards on the year. But what I think, and I tweeted this out during the Oregon game, you have to appreciate about Iowa is they know who they are. They're patient with their process. They don't change their process. They don't change what they're doing unless it's a blowout, which is very rare.
Yeah.
That they're getting, and they stick to it. They don't deviate at all. And so they're going to keep running and they're going to keep punting. And they know when that fourth quarter comes, they need a big play. Look what happened. Gronkowski, or whatever the hell his name is, had a beautiful 50 or so yard pass to the tight end down the middle of the field. And then he made another big throw later in that drive. And then on the 2-point or on the 4th and goal, they spread him out and they run a QB power to the right-hand side of the field. And that was my dog whining.
Okay. I was just, I was looking over at mine to make sure she was still laying there sleeping.
Yep. He's trapped in here. But that's what they do. They know who they are. And to me, as much as we hate them, you have to be able to take a step back as a fan and appreciate that they accomplish so much with far less talent, far less revenue share money or NIL money. and they win 9 games every year.
But
they're damn good at what they do.
It's what they're able to do, with their kind of style of run. They do a lot of motions as well, but like their O-line, their O-line fits or clean. They run a lot of counter, they run a lot of mid zone. Now Mark Gronowski, what he was able to do is, like you talked about, like he brings an element of a QB run that they haven't had in years past. So like that right there gives them kind of a red zone thing that they didn't have before. Red zone kind of a solution, if you will. Now, one of the things that, I think what is going to be something that Nebraska needs to do against both of these teams is what we did last week, and it's winning on first down. And that's something that when watching the game back, I saw us do a lot more than we have the rest of this season. And I think that could be, again, we talked about this before with what TJ Lateef brought, Dylan Raiola didn't. And I think that ability I think one of the biggest things that allowed Nebraska to win on first down was you have so much more of that variable with his legs. And again, like with that defense backing off a little bit, like you're almost guaranteed, it felt like 2, 3, 4 yards on first down, no matter what, whether he's taking the first or second read and tucking and running, like you're almost guaranteed to at least move the chains forward. And I think that first down success is, you have to, against two physical teams coming up like a Penn State and an Iowa, like you have to have that ability to get yards on first down. We can't afford to have incompletions. We can't afford to be second and 10, third and 10, just because that allows teams to pin their ears back a little bit. And when you have a team that is, able to get to the quarterback like Penn State has this year at times, again, I think TJ Lateef is going to provide a lot of issues for them, but at the same time, what he showed on film last week, they're going to be able to kind of game plan towards. And so we're going to have to see something a little bit different this week out of everybody. But again, you got to assume that Emmett Johnson's going to have a million touches this week as well.
Emmett Johnson's going to be Emmett Johnson. But this is like the beautiful thing about football is, UCLA doesn't know what TJ really can do.
Yeah.
And so they're a little bit maybe caught off guard, and they're adjusting during the game, and then you have to adjust to their adjustments. Now you've got a full game tape. Penn State's going to have a completely different game plan, and you have to then create a game plan that they're not going to be totally ready for. And then it's a constant chess match. And that's the beauty of this game. And the key here, outside of winning on first down, is what does Nebraska do differently or maybe more of against Penn State? And I think that's going to be the zone read. Personally, I think his threat on the outside, his speed, he's got quick bursts too. It's not like, think back to like a running back, maybe like Dedrick Mills or Divino Zigbo, where it takes them kind of a minute to get up and going. TJ is boom, and he's at full speed, full stride so quickly. He's very agile. I think they're going to use his legs a little bit more against Penn State, just because you have to keep them honest. But what I also like about this is it opens up first down. If you've consistently ran the ball and got 3 or 4 yards later in the game, you're going to be able to play action off of that. And that's when you can maybe take a deep shot on first down, or maybe even just get a little quick intermediate throw. But winning on first down was the biggest difference for the UCLA game. I think our average third down was 2.3 yards to go.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah, that's because this season we've seen us in the games that we've struggled, in the drives that we struggled, especially a lot of second and third and longs. And I think another thing too is, like, we kind of saw him not only go to Emmett, we saw him go to Danke a little bit more, but I think some of these concepts, again, I think are going to work a lot more. And I think that his legs are going to, again, back some of that physicality off a little bit, because they're going to have no choice. And then if you come out, I think that's one of the main reasons why we came out early, with a run straight away, was to really kind of back off that aggression and allow, let them see that, like, okay, we're not afraid to let this kid run. And then from there, that creates, again, a little extra space for your execution to be able to improve a little bit. The defensive line isn't going to get off the ball as aggressively. The second level, the linebackers, their eyes are going to be, again, in that play that I talked about where, they're guessing run versus pass. They step down to guard the run, the QB run, because then you have that inside handoff fake and it kind of almost plays a zone read. Now you're going to have linebacker stepping down a little bit, trying to figure out what he's going to do. But then at the same time, you're going to have them stepping back a little bit at times because they're afraid he's going to run it out, roll out, and keep it. That element right there is going to be, I think, the biggest difference in this game. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think we have a higher percentage in these games with TJ as opposed to Dylan because of what he provides with the legs? I'm just throwing this out there, man. I'm not trying to get you tripped up here.
Okay.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
I do. And I love Dylan. Don't get me wrong. He's our quarterback come fall next year.
Yep.
But I think having a running quarterback in this day and age is vital to your programs and your offense's success.
Yeah.
Because to me, and it's no fault of Dylan, it's no fault of pocket passers that just aren't very athletic, but you're kind of statuesque back there. It allows defenders to pin their ears back because they know you're not mobile to roll out. With the exception of very few, they're not all like great athletes, but like a guy like, you're gonna hate this example, but a guy like Mahomes is not overly athletic.
I know it was coming,
but he's mobile enough to get you out of the pocket. Even something like that is okay with me. But to me, Dylan is not mobile at all. He just looks uncomfortable, unnatural running it. So when you have that guy that can just take it and run, it opens up everything. It opens up the middle of the field. You get a linebacker stepping down because he's afraid of the run, then you throw a pass over the top of him. You saw it against UCLA. That middle of the field was a lot more open because those linebackers were dropping down thinking it was a zone read. He's keeping, and then they throw the RPO right behind him or right over them.
Now but here, all right.
Jackson.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's a random.
And we're back.
Sure, that pops up like every time my camera cuts off. Also, I don't know why my camera cuts off. Now, here's my problem. Here's the thing that worries me. Is Knowles does kind of run a multiplicity of looks and schemes defensively. Penn State defensively. Now, rather than kind of just a straightforward, 4-2-5, that's their base, of course, but they do a lot of mixing that up, especially with their shells and stuff like that. That is where I'm worried that they might try to mix that up a lot against. Now, we also have an NFL, style and NFL experienced defensive back coach in John Butler that can kind of show some of those things in practice. But I feel like, they do have that more so than UCLA. I feel like they have the athletes and the flexibility to really be able to defend against the RPO a little bit better. And so, and I do think they have the ability to kind of win their one-on-ones and over, Penn State with their athletes, their linebackers or defensive backs, they're asked to do a lot more and they're trusted to do a lot more. So it's going to be a lot more difficult to kind of stretch their zones, if you will, like we talked about in the post game. So that's where I'm curious to see, where we kind of try to, I guess, change up the game plan a little bit, because they are going to really try to make his life hell by mixing up their shell coverages and mixing up, they're going to have the rolling coverages. UCLA, not as much, because I don't think they had the athletes to really get over and do that. I think a lot of times they had to be in position to where they needed to be because we were stretching them so thin in their zones. Like they didn't have time to recover and get back over, because a lot of times we were dictating what they did defensively and they weren't dictating, what they did defensively, if you will. I think Penn State might dictate a little bit more of what they do defensively, and it's going to be a little bit harder to throw them out of that.